Now, just to warn you, Richard has an important message at the end of the video about stopping an absolutely hideous trade, a trade that scoops truly evil people over 100 billion quid a year, and you might not be so keen on open borders after you hear about it. We are being warned that our current financial woes are likely to continue for another 3 to 4 years. And this applies to the global economy, not just that of Brexit UK. And electing a Labour government won't solve the problem either. The cause of all these current problems is that governments and their central banks gave out far too much money during the health emergency, says Agustin Carstens, the head of the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, which is the central bank for the central banks. He says there were too many handouts and far too much printing of money. While understandable as the COVID crisis broke out, with the benefit of hindsight, it is now clear that the fiscal and monetary policy support was too large, too broad-based and too long-lasting, said Carstens. And he also said that central banks may think that they have done enough, only to find that they need to tighten further. And that sounds exactly like what happened inside the Bank of England recently when they raised rates by a full 0.5% to 5%. And Carstens criticised the central banks for not getting to grips with their loose monetary policy after the 2008 credit crunch, saying that buffers used up in downturns must be rebuilt in recoveries. And as far as I can see, that's something we did not do. In fact, the Tories were more tax and splurge than Labour had been in the past. They seemed to think that quantitative easing and zero interest rates were the new norm. And Labour was worse. They were talking about the need to borrow even more while interest rates were low, with no understanding that when rates reset, the interest payments go up every time you have to roll a tranche of gilts over. And the Tory government didn't do a very good job of explaining to the British people that getting furlough money and the like would lead to the bill coming in at some point for everyone. Or maybe they didn't understand that bit themselves. Maybe they also thought it was all free money. Especially as they've all but given up on recovering any of the billions embezzled from the system through the rushed government pandemic schemes. That has to be paid for as well. Now, the BIS is another of these supranational institutions, so you have to wonder if someone will come up with an idea for a new global financial system to take all this pain away. After all, as I said earlier, the BIS is the central bank for the central banks.